You're listening to the Thrive Podcast, where every week we dive into a practical, tactical tip to bring you from a life of simply surviving to thriving. It's personal development for the everyday girl who is done with coasting through her days, done with feeling like she's missing out on the deeper meaning of her own life, and done with mediocrity once and for all. Because it's not enough to simply survive. You deserve to thrive. Ever feel so passionately about something that it becomes bigger than the thing itself? That's how Jennifer's jewelry brand was born, in the peak of the pandemic, no less. As a public school teacher for over a decade for underprivileged kids, she felt frazzled often and her body was taking a beating. And she knew she wanted a different direction for her life and for her two girls. Jennifer brought her passion for uniting and equipping moms together with her passion for good jewelry, and her brand, Tough as a Mother, was born. And now, even as a baby brand, it has gotten recognition from celebrities like actress Viola Davis, singer Andra Day, even recognition at the Golden Globes. Today's episode with Jennifer gives great business advice to the ambitious introverts in the house too, who didn't always see themselves at the helm leading a company, but who obviously have great skills and ideas and passions like the next girl. Be sure to stay tuned through this episode. Drop us your thoughts on social media. And without further ado, welcome Jennifer.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
We were literally just talking before hitting record that it's about 10 a.m. my time, 7 a.m. her time, but she's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. So Jennifer, how on earth do you be a morning person like that? And how do you give us some wisdom here for how to consistently wake up at 4 a.m. without an alarm, since that's nothing short of a miracle that you are able to do that. So how on earth did you start that habit?
I feel like that's just how my body and my mind is set. And I just wake up and then I say what I'm grateful for. I think for a minute and then I go to my office, aka my laundry room, and I just get to work on my calendar. But yeah, I think that I've just found that's when I can function the highest, really early in the morning when my babies are sleeping. Also helpful as a mom, no distractions.
Can relate. Oh my goodness. So I know our listeners can't see us, but you can see me, and I hope you're seeing the Tough as a Mother representation happening here through the screen. So I can't wait to talk all about your incredible brand. But first, I want to hear all about you, and our listeners, of course, want to know all about you. So give us the lowdown of who you are and what you do and why you're here on Thrive.
Yeah, thank you. So I am a former public school teacher. I taught for 11 years. And in that time, I also had a jewelry company, and jewelry was always my coping mechanism to stress, because I found a lot of public school teaching moments to be stressful. It's super emotionally draining. And so I started my first company, which I sold and I still sell to boutiques and resorts. So I had that company, kind of just bootstrapped, self-taught everything while I was teaching for the past decade. And then fast forward to March 2020, I was on maternity leave and my daughter was 5 months old and I was set to go back to school. And I did March 1st to go back to the classroom and teach. And March 13th, Friday the 13th, was our shutdown. So I had been working for 2 weeks in person with my students. And then of course we went remote for the last quarter. And that's where this company, Tough as a Mother, was born in those moments, really difficult moments for me in March 2020.
Oh my gosh, literally. So you're a pandemic company.
Yeah.
It's like a true survival to thriving story of good to come out of something that was just so bad for so many people. So that's incredible. So I have more questions about that because it's such a cool company. I can't wait for everyone to see it too. For everyone who can't see me, the necklace that I'm wearing is a custom name necklace, but of course mine says Thrive, because why would it not? And they're so pretty, and we have a discount code for you, so stay tuned for that. But before going into all the business stuff, you're a mom of 2 also. So talk to us about what motherhood was like for you in your head before ever having kids compared to what reality was and is for you now? Because I think you and I share similar sentiments here where like you kind of have like a totally different idealized version of what being a mom is like, especially if you don't grow up around kids or like dream of think your like God-given purpose in life is to just birth children, or like you don't really necessarily know until you're like in it, and then So what was that like for you then versus what it's truly like for you now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was one of those people who always dreamed of having kids. I mean, I wanted babies I can't even remember, forever, since I was small, and would dream about, oh my gosh, one day I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to have all these kids and it's going to be amazing. I mean, even like when I was 18 and was backpacking through South America, I had a journal. I remember writing down like names. I was like, this could be a good name for my future child. Like I was that person that was like, I can't wait to be a mother. This is going to be the best thing ever. And it is, and didn't ever cross my mind that things were difficult. It was always just like, every time I thought about being a mom since I was a little girl, I was just like, this will be amazing. Why wouldn't it? I just had it in my heart. I want to be a mother, and everything was positive. And I'm one of 4 children. I have 3 brothers, and my mom and my dad were super present and still are. They're currently my neighbors, which helps. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really close with my family, and no disrespect to my mom, but I always just looked at my mom, and I had 3 brothers, and, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but my parents were always present for us. And hey, we made it work. I grew up in a mountain town in Northern California, but I always just looked at my mom like, yeah, if she can do it, so can I. This doesn't look that hard. Oh my gosh. I like regret ever thinking of it. You don't know what you don't know. So that was like what I was going off. Like, well, my mom did it with 4 and she seemed to love it, so I should be fine too.
But like, props to your mom for having 4 children, 3 of which are boys, to look like an easy task. Like that in and of itself is a feat. So props to your mom, because that's awesome.
Yeah, she made it look so easy. And we just, we grew up doing mountainy things. Like I grew up in the forest and riding bikes and slingshots and Nerf guns. Like I had 3 brothers. So it was just like we cruised in the forest, and my mom would take us all around to like the local fishing tournaments or like whatever. So I'm like, this is awesome. I'm just gonna have kids and take them to all the local things. But it's so much more difficult. I'm like, Mom, how did you even do that?
Oh my gosh. So then when you asked your mom that, what did she say to you? And you're like, Mom, like, hello, you made this look so easy. Like, what was your secret? How did she react to that?
Yeah, she's still, even to this day, like when I was pregnant or like during like the labor after, I would make comments to my mom, and she would always just like write it off. Like, oh, well, you just forget about it. Like the pain of labor. She's like, well, it just happened so fast. And then you totally forget. Like 5 seconds later, you're gonna have the baby, you're going to forget. And now after having 2, I'm like, yeah, no, you don't just forget. I still remember the pain, Mom. Like what? Like, I think I don't know how her brain operates, because she's still, if I'm like, oh, if I'm going through a difficult stage, well, like the tantrums or what have you, I'm trying to teach my 3-year-old, how to manage her emotions. And my mom always, oh, it's just a stage, it'll pass. Like, but no, this is really difficult, actually. Like she still is so calm and like, this too shall pass. And I'm like freaking out. Like, but I need help currently until it passes. It's a struggle.
Can relate, because our daughter's 2.5 and very much in the tantrum phase too. So if you figure out anything before me, since you're a little bit further on in the game, please let me know, because we've had a few too many laying on the floor and Target slamming the ground situations. So yeah, I'm all ears for if we figure out how to manage emotions for
it's a work in progress every day. We're currently just talking it through and like trying to learn how she is as a little person and what sets her off, and then how she recovers, and just being reflective of like, she is her own little person. It's wild. Every day I'm still learning so much, and just look at her and go, oh gosh, okay. And what should I do now? What that mom podcast say? Or what did I read in that book? Like, what was that strategy? I'm like in the moment of processing the tantrum or like her outburst, going like, ooh, what was that thing I just learned? And it's like so crazy. But I think I had this not false, I don't know how to say it, but my mom made it look so easy and she was so happy and had 4 kids. So I was truly like, that was my role model of a mom. Like, if my mom could do it and made it look so easy, like, let's go. Like, she didn't even make it. I was born in the car on the way to the hospital. My dad just pulled over and delivered me. Yeah. And then
No way.
the last kid, my younger brother, they just had it home. So I'm just like, watched and heard the stories of like how I was born, like, oh, just pull over, deliver the kid. And then my dad delivered me and they took me to the hospital. And then by the last, they just gave up and I think had it at home and didn't even try to go to the hospital because that didn't work with me. So just like the story of even her child, all the births, I'm like, can't be that hard. You just pop them out in the car or at home. And then here I am like screaming, entering the hospital for the epidural before I get in the hospital. Like, how did my mom do that? All nonchalant, this is wild. I had such a false, like not false, but I don't know how to say it. I had what I saw as like my mom, my role model of a mom made it look so easy that that's probably why I went in so naive,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But it also feels like that probably inspired Tough as a Mother because from everything obviously I don't know your mom, but now I would like to because she sounds like a really freaking epic lady. But it really just sounds like her thing was like, it comes to you and then you figure it out and then you keep going. And like, that's life. And like, so I feel like, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but there's so many people that don't have that mindset where hardships come, hard times come, whatever. And it really shakes people and it rocks us. And we just look at things and we're like, how can I possibly go on? This is the worst thing to ever happen. And we dramatize and we spiral and every emotions get the better of us. And it sounds like your mom is truly someone who life hits her and she's like, I am unfazed. I am tough. I am strong. I am resilient. I've got this. If anyone can handle it, it's me and I'll figure it out. And like, what an amazing way to live life. What an amazing mantra and what an amazing thing for her to have taught you. And then for you to be able to pass on to your kids because like, it's so true. Like she is so strong and so tough and so are we. And like, she's absolutely right in that we could do it too. It's just so hard sometimes to tap into that when you're actually in the thick of a really hard moment. So it's awesome.
100%. I agree. And my mom is a very quiet person and she's tough as a mother, but she is so quiet and private and just like calm, the behind the scenes. Like I don't put her on my social media much. You never see my mom, but she has it in her. Like she's tough as a mother, but quiet as can be.
Okay, so Tough as a Mother, let's talk about it because people need to like know what this is. It's incredible. So it's a jewelry brand to empower and support moms on their parenting journey. I know a big part of that for you is in using the power and meanings of gemstones, the power of names to really design pieces that honor both the best and the hardest parts of motherhood and parenthood, which I think is so important. I mean, I'm sure that resonates with you too, seeing that you kind of saw what felt very one-sided growing up and like your mom knows, we all know that it is absolutely no walk in the park, as beautiful as motherhood is. So where did the name Tough as a Mother come from? And I know you mentioned starting it last year when the pandemic was happening, but kind of take us back to the catalyst of how that all actually started. Because I feel like a lot of people might not be jumping up and down when they're in the throes of motherhood or the pandemic or whatever, feeling frazzled, going, you know what my life needs? A new business. Like, let's start it.
Yeah, definitely. So although it was March 2020, and the moment was I had lost all my breast milk and my daughter was 5 and I was scheduled to go back to work. And rookie mom, my first child, I breastfed and didn't have any and I kept my milk. And so I figured with this second child, she'll just breastfeed too, and I'll have my milk and pump like I did the first time. And it didn't work out like that because of a lot of stress and postpartum hormonal issues and just so many anxiety things that I was dealing with that I suddenly lost all my milk and was scheduled to go back to work. So I was like, okay, we need to feed the child. Let's go buy the formula. I'd never done that. I never bought formula. So we bought the formula. The baby wouldn't take the formula. I'm like, okay. And I have to go back to work and like, she won't drink the formula. I called HR. I was like, I don't know. I can't go. How do I keep the child alive? And
Problem.
so yeah, problem. And then, in hindsight, oh, people would tell me like, oh, well, you test them out and try earlier. I'm like, yeah, well, I've never done this before. And this all just happened. I wasn't like ready to test formula so I can go to work. And so it was like just in the moment where I was just like, wow, okay, I need to like go back to work, but I can't even keep my child alive because I can have no milk and she won't take the formula. We ended up finding a formula that would work, and I did go back to work, but there was just like a few moments in those really difficult times that I was just like, wow, okay, I'll wear Labradorite, or I need to wear this stone, or I gonna wear like my tough bracelet, and I would make them. Like this was the first rendition of the tough bracelet. But so in those moments, I was like, wow, I always do this and it seems to help me. I should spread this love, my jewelry, to other moms. And I would wear my daughter's initials when I went back to work because it's difficult. You miss your kids. And so, yeah, that's sort of how it started. And then even before that, probably several months before that, I was with my younger brother, and he was helping me at a trade show for my other company. And we were walking around and we were talking about like the design, and like he was helping me because I'm very particular how I source. So we were like meeting different families. We were at a large trade show in Vegas of like who could help with some of the designs. So yeah, it even started before March 20. I just never took action. And then March 2020, I had to finish teaching the COVID quarter. And then it was summer, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I actually took a step back and quit. And some people are like, you didn't quit, you just took a deep breath. But for several months of 2020, most of March 2020, I did not do anything with the business, but I was strategizing in my head, like how I knew it would help women. But I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I guess imposter syndrome set in, and just dealing with my own struggles to get my physical and mental state prepared. But once some certain random things happened and my parents ended up selling their home and moved down here and are my neighbors, a lot of things sort of just aligned. When the stars align, like they truly aligned for me. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so I launched the company. It was like the first week of February. And so I'm pretty new into it, but it's been going well. So I'm happy with how like jewelry is helping mothers.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you hit a couple of important things there too. You said like you were prepared this whole time. And I feel like there's an important difference between being prepared and being ready, because people will often go, well, I can't start it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Like my idea is not ready. The business isn't ready. It's just not ready. And I don't know if we ever hit a point where you actually feel ready, where you're 100% confident, absolutely not a doubt in your mind. I mean, hell, I feel like if you're at a point where that's how you feel, you might be missing something because I think there's always something there where you're like, okay, maybe this could be improved or this could be tweaked, whatever, but you were still prepared. So even though you weren't sitting there being like, you know what, this is the perfect time, like it's the perfect moment, this is exactly what has to happen right now, you had been doing all of the work. It's like an iceberg. It's like people always you see what's above the surface, but there was so much happening behind the scenes for you to get this ready. Even though you didn't feel ready, it itself was ready and you were prepared. And that was kind of like the perfect combination to make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's super important because sometimes we can see like looks can be so deceiving, like from the outside, like, oh, you just launched a business and wow, look at it. And it's also, I just nod and say thank you or whatever. But and like the reality is like nobody's known the hours and days and years that I've put into studying business, to studying strategy, to being in groups and learning from women and getting what mentors. I mean, I don't talk about that. But then, you see Instagram posts, you see, whatever a success or an article here, like whatever people see, and they just go, oh, well, holy moly, you did this and look at you. It's like, thank you. But there's like years of backstory, but I don't, I'll spare you the time. Yeah. But I think that's just important too. I am starting to more share my journey in the back end of what I've been through, but it's a challenge. Like as an introvert, I was never forward facing. I hid in my last company. No one even knew it was me that was the CEO. And so in this new company, it is my first time having social media. I don't have a personal account, so it's been a huge challenge. And I'm finding like getting uncomfortable is really making me grow.
Yeah. I mean, we always say get comfortable being uncomfortable, and it's true. And I think there's something to be said though, like it's you mentioned being an introvert, but not all CEOs or successful business people are extroverts, because I think there's really something to be said for exactly what you just said, in the sense of you had your head down doing the work for years, figuring out strategy, finding mentors. Like there's nothing in any rule book of personality traits or anything that says extroverted people become the leaders and introverted people just take lesser roles or don't do as successful things. Like that's just not true. So you're challenging yourself in terms of getting in front of a camera for a social media post maybe, but you were just as capable, if not more so, than other people to do all of the behind the scenes work that is necessary in any business, regardless of whether you're extroverted or introverted naturally.
Right.
So I think that's important for people to hear too, because I'm sure we have introverts listening who are like, I'm a little scared. I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to be the one giving directions or making, like having to put myself out there. But your ideas are just as good as people who have no problem vocalizing their desires
Right.
or wants or ideas. So why not you?
Yeah, I think I finally had this realization. And once I realized, and I have such a deep why in my company is really to make mothers feel loved and seen and united around the world. And it's not really about the jewelry for me. I'm trying to start a movement where we just talk about miscarriage and we talk about anxiety and depression and how hard it is when you don't know what to do when there's a tantrum, and also how beautiful this is. It's like literally they're little miracles. I look at my girls every day. I'm just like, whoa, like how did that happen?
Yeah.
And just seeing their joy. And it's like the most beautiful thing ever. And so as much as I talk about some of the struggles, I think it's just because I'm so close to it and I've been through it. But it's like the most amazing thing ever. Like it's just such a wild ride. And I truly believe in like the law of averages and just like balance. So as equally beautiful and joyous, which is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life when I see my daughters, it's as equally difficult. And so when I think about those things, when I'm in the tantrum or when she's hurt or crying and I want to help her, but I'm also trying to teach her to be resilient. And it's like, you don't really know if you're doing the best thing. Those moments are just as beautiful, even though they're so difficult. It's so hard to explain, but I like feel like balance in life is so key. And I find that with my children. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here like nodding my head like a bobblehead because I'm like, yes, I could not agree more. And it's so interesting because as you were saying that and talking about balance too, it was just making me think of, this is so cliche, but literally how so much in life is like you appreciate the good times so much more having gone through the hard times, and they
Right.
really work to counter each other in that, when you have such a higher and deeper appreciation for your kids' growth when you see their not as great moment compared to the moment where you were like, holy cow, how did you even learn that? Like they all kind of work together and they make them the person they are meant to be, and we are forged in that process too. So it's just so cool to look at it and to watch it and to be like, wow, this is how life works. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's so amazing.
it feels so silly, but like when you're in the moment, like and this is why I say like you see this in other ways in life too if you're not a mom. So it's not just in motherhood, but like holy cow, does motherhood really like exemplify it and take it over the notch for you, where you're like, wow, like that's really cool. Like I see.
Yes. My children are teaching me, I'm noticing, I mean, it's happening before my eyes. Like they're teaching me the things that I needed to learn most. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm a very impatient person, and holy moly, have I had to just have to be patient because, otherwise she's going to have a tantrum and I'm going to have a tantrum too. So, yeah, just they really come into your life to just like teach you what you need the most. I feel like I'm learning that. I'm like, whoa, okay. and yeah, it's just super wild. It's like so fun and so difficult. Like every day I'm just like, whoa, what's going to happen with these children and me? Like, you never know. It's quite exciting. One day in the life with a 1 and a 3-year-old, it's so fun.
Well, and it really pushes your perspective to new limits, because like you just, like we can look at it and go, okay, this is exciting. Like, what's today going to bring with a 3-year-old? And I know people where their perspective becomes so much sadder because they look at it and they're like, oh, what's she going to say in Target today? Like, is she going to embarrass me? Like, is she going to talk about private parts or poop or like something like where the perspective is kind of almost like of dread, where it's like, oh, I don't even want to go anywhere because I don't know what they're going to say. Yeah. And that just is so sad and takes the fun out of it. Like, I think it's so important and so good to have a perspective of, you know what, they're kids. Like, they're this young ones, and we're doing everything we can to help them grow into the person they're going to be, and they're little people, and we're just trying to learn them the same way they're learning the world. And it's going to have some lows, but it's also going to have some really good highs. So ride it out.
100% every day. Yeah, find out. I think my experience as a public school teacher and teaching so many students over the past decade, students talk to their teachers a lot and share a lot of things. And so I learned through them, like a little bit the kind of mother I wanted to be, because listening to so many students, on Monday when they'd come back from the weekend and hearing what they were so overjoyed about, it always came back to just spending time with their parents. The kid was never like, oh, I got this new shirt. I mean, sometimes I got this new shirt, but that was really just because they wanted validation from the person next to me. But if it was ever one-on-one or, in the hall or work, other kids, like kids are just so excited to talk about their parents and their presence or their parental figure, whatever their situation is. So, and I was like super blessed to have very present mom and dad. And so like, I just know I'm learning and I'm messing up every day and I'm learning from it. But the key thing that I learned from my parents and from just hearing from hundreds of students is just like, be physically there. Just be there. That's all kids want. That's why they're always like, look, mom, look at me, watch me. It's like, they just want you to see them. They just want to be seen. And we all just want to be seen and loved. Right. But I think for a child, they want that from their parental figure the most, is what I've noticed.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So can you walk us through some of the meanings behind some of the gemstones that you use and where that comes from? Because I told you before we hit record, that was one of the first times I'd ever seen that. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. But you have, I'm going to butcher the name of this one, Labradorite?
You got it.
Ooh, got it. Quartz, chalcedony. Is that one right?
Some people say chalcedony or chalcedony. Yeah, there's a lot of tomato.
Tomato, rainbow moonstone, amethyst, turquoise. I got those. Those I nailed. But talk to us about that, like what that even is. What kind of each of those gemstones represent, and like where that comes from, and then how you use that built into the pieces of jewelry to help moms.
Yeah, sure. So love stones. I've always loved stones, and stones like have special healing powers. They're like little pieces of the universe, right? They're just rocks. So it's like pieces of the earth that have energy, different energies that can help you. So my favorite stone is Labradorite. That's to me the most powerful stone in the universe. It's just so mesmerizing because it has like blue and green flashes, and they call it like the dark moonstone, and that really helps with repelling negative energy and then attracting like positive. So it's so strong, it's so powerful. So I wear that all the time. And rainbow,
I think that's the one that's in the back of my necklace. Yeah.
Oh, you got the little rainbow or the Labradorite? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So they all have healing properties and powers. And so how I incorporated that into my jewelry line is when you choose, for example, like a custom necklace, like your kid's initials, or you got the word thrive or bold or fearless or whatever word that you want, you can choose on the back a teeny little stone just on the clasp to help you in your journey. And so when you're on my website, I have it all, like each product, you can read like what stone might you need on the back. And so some people do it for special memories. Like I've had women purchase a piece to honor their rainbow baby, or women who have miscarried. They have put like a piece of rainbow moonstone as a memory for that child. I've also miscarried. So I feel like that's super special when you're like, oh, wow, like they may now think of that little baby now some more. Because miscarriage is, it's a whole nother topic of like, we got to talk more about it because it's super common and it's very difficult. And most women just like go through it and they're like, okay, that was done. And I'm embarrassed and ashamed and let's move on. Like that's what I did at least. But so yeah, the stones are there for like the person to customize it and make it special to them. Like the reason I love jewelry is that it can be whatever you need it to be. Like if you want to celebrate like your child's first birthday and you get their initials and you get like a little turquoise, which symbolizes sometimes friendship because you have these women around you cheering you on, or whatever the special meaning is, they all have meanings. The chalcedony has calming properties. So, my goal, like if I get through the day and I don't lose it too bad, I'm like, yes, I'm amazing. I'm an amazing mom because I didn't lose it terribly and I kept my calm. So yes, chalcedony helps with that. The quartz, the clear quartz, also is super just healing and kind of neutral and helps you find balance. So to me, the stones are special because it's not what I say they are. It's like what the person needs them for in their life. So I hope that it can have a little story on your body with the stone that you choose.
And how does that, I'm a total gemstone newbie here. So like,
Okay.
I know nothing. So, so how does that actually work versus how, cause I'm hearing that and I'm like, that is so cool, but how is that not a placebo effect of people just putting something on and then like elevating their mindset and being like, of course it was a good day because it was connected to what I was wearing. Like how does that actually work in terms of like the energy and all of that?
Okay, sure. It is whatever we say it is, just like anything, right? So maybe it is you wear this and maybe you don't believe the stones have powers, but you believe, hey, I'm gonna feel happy because I have this, and that lady said it make me happy, and then you're happy, that's cool too. But I believe that they do have the healing energies in the stone. And so by having that on your body, you'll absorb that into your body, into your energy. But also if you're not like super into rocks and crystals and it is whatever you want. That's why I think it's beautiful is you don't need to be like, oh, I need to know about all stones and be like this rock person and stone person. And like all, maybe sometimes people are like, that's woo. But it's like, it's cool. Like you could just appreciate a rock, like people wear diamonds for wedding rings and that's a symbol of that whole situation. So it's whatever you want it to be. Like if you're just like, well, this is a pretty blue stone and I feel pretty, then I'm like, cool, girl, like feel pretty today. Like you don't need to know all the healing powers. I think it's cool because it is just like such is life. It is whatever you want it to be, whether you believe that the stone is emitting energy like I do, or if you just think it's pretty and makes you feel good that day, like cool, I'm super stoked to be part of your journey, I guess.
Yeah. No, I love that. So is there anything that you wish someone in your position now, since you now are like a thriving business owner, a mompreneur, came out of the pandemic to do this, like, is there anything that you wish someone would have told you when you were first starting or thinking of starting Tough as a Mother? Like a hindsight is 2020 sort of perspective that you wish you had gotten.
Yeah, I would 100% say, because I didn't have a lot of help in the beginning, I bootstrapped my company and just self-educated. But I wish I wish somebody would have told me, just start sharing your story earlier. Just be you, be authentic, and just start talking, because I didn't ever. I hid behind the first company. But because I had these feelings, and maybe people also feel like, well, why would somebody want to see like what I do? But like, I'm a mountain biker. I'm a very private person. I have close with my family. I have a few friends, but I felt like why me? Like, why would anyone want to see like me go ride my bike and like me be super introverted and very private with my family? Like, do people care about that stuff? So, or care about, should I talk about my miscarriage for the first time publicly, or depression or anxiety or hormonal? And then when it hit me like, whoa, this isn't even about me. Like maybe I went through that to talk about it, to help others, because there are some things you go through that you feel so alone. Like I had bladder prolapse too with my second. I remember just walking around the block, like crying to my mom, like, oh my gosh. And what do I do now? It's not like I'm shouting from the rooftops, hey, anyone else have like bladder prolapse, like go work on our pelvic floors, And so like people aren't just like jumping up and down for help. And so I'm hoping the content that I can serve women will be those things I wish I had. What to do when you miscarry, where to go seek help, 3 tips for anxiety, 3 tips when you're not sleeping, like all these things that I've been through, I think. So share your story to answer your question. I wish someone would have just sat me down and said, you don't think it's important, your story, or you don't think people want to know, but it's not about you. Just start sharing it. Because when I started really just sharing, I felt like I was always authentic because I've always just kind of had this personality, like, you like me, cool. You don't, there's plenty of other people out here. Like I really didn't, not that I didn't care, but I was like pretty self-confident in the person I was, but I didn't share my story because I didn't think people would care. And maybe they don't still care, but if it helps one person who also miscarried and reads something that I can provide and it's like, whoa, okay. Like, then it was all worth it. If like I share about bladder prolapse and a mom is going through that too, and I can give her tips. I'm not providing the tips. I'm bringing in like doctors and medical professionals when I'm pushing out my content. But if anything could help that one person, then this whole thing was worth it, So that's sort of my mission and I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. So Jennifer, I want to ask you something I ask every guest on Thrive, and that is, what does thrive mean to you, and how do you strive to thrive in your everyday life?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thrive means to me just being 100% authentically you and getting aligned with what you're supposed to do and doing it regardless of the noise, which is so much noise. So just, that's would be my answer.
That's awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been awesome. Tell everyone where they can find you online to connect with you more and to grab a Tough as a Mother piece, of course.
You're so kind. So I'm most active on Instagram at Tough as a Mother Tribe, and I'll share behind the scenes in my Instagram stories. And my website is toughasamothertribe.com. Also on Facebook, but not as active there. And Twitter. My Twitter is TAAM Tribe.
Amazing. And I think everyone can use code Thrive30 for 30% off a piece, which is incredible. So go support Jennifer's small business. This has been awesome and such a good conversation. And I just can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wait, before you go, make sure you're subscribed to never miss an episode of Thrive. Drop 5 stars on your way out if you like what you just listened to, and come join the party on Instagram at thrive.podcast to stay inspired and thriving all week long. Thanks for tuning in. It's your time to thrive.